call the meeting to order. Joy, would you like to do the roll?
Mr. Whitcliffe? Mr. Shear?
Here.
Mr. Beveridge?
Here.
Mr. McCune?
Here.
Mrs. Martin? Mrs. Felter? Mr. Geary?
Here.
All right. Would you like to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Maggie, come up for the recognitions and awards.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm thrilled to present our recognitions tonight. I'd like to welcome all of our distinguished guests. We're going to begin our recognitions tonight with a community partner. I'd like to ask Heather Schoonover from Community Development, Assistant Superintendent for Support Services Jessica Dane, and Counseling Services Coordinator Angie Salova to come forward to assist with this recognition. Tonight we recognize Johnson County Mental Health. I'd like to ask the following to be recognized for Johnson County Mental Health, if you could come forward. Tim Deweese, Susan Rome, and Janie Yanacito. Johnson County Mental Health serves county residents living with mental illness, which includes children. Their mission has supported the needs of our district's students and families as they improve quality of life by providing accessible, comprehensive mental health services. During the 2018-19 school year, staff from Johnson County Mental Health has provided therapists for the district's high school SOS suicide prevention program implementation, therapists for staff debriefing after crises, trainers for mental health first aid staff training, consistent family and student support at Impact Olathe to serve clients facing homelessness. They've worked closely with the Zero Reasons Why countywide suicide prevention campaign and have provided key support for various incidents in our district. Tonight we recognize Johnson County Mental Health for leadership in our community efforts for social, emotional well-being and mental health support to students, staff, and families. Thank you for all that you've done. Next up, I'd like to ask Savindu Bulawana to come forward, along with Olathe North Assistant Principal Josh Price. Savindu just finished his sophomore year at Olathe North and recently earned a perfect score of 36 on the ACT. Nationally, while the actual number of students earning a composite score of 36 varies from year to year, less than 0.1% of students taking the ACT earn this top score. He's been involved in Boy Scouts, Science Olympiad, Scholar and Science Bowls, DECA, and Distinguished Scholars 21st Century Academy. Congratulations to you. And I know your family is here as well. We'd love for them to stand to be recognized as well. Next, it is my honor to recognize Regency Place student Manu Shirapathy. Manu, if you could come forward, along with Regency Place Principal Greg O'Borney. Not only did Manu win the Olathe Spelling Bee after 30 rounds as only a fourth grader, he also went to represent the district at the Scripps National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C. and did an outstanding job. We just want to say congratulations to you. Picture. And I know your family is here as well. We'd love for them to stand and be recognized. Congratulations. Next, we'd like to recognize Fairview Elementary PE teacher Christina Murphy, if you could come forward, along with Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Schools Tim Reeves. Fairview received the Kansas Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance Model School Gold Award for their continued excellence in physical education. This award honors the focus on student relationships, mindfulness, and health that have had a positive impact on the culture of Fairview. Congratulations. Congratulations. Next, I am thrilled to recognize 6 schools who recently received the Challenge Award. Mr. Reeves, where'd you go? Come back up, please. The Confidence in Kansas Public Education Task Force has named 6 Olathe Public Schools as recipient of the Challenge Award. Those schools are Central, Fairview, Ridgeview, Washington, and Westview Elementary, and Indian Trail Middle. And tonight we have 3 of those principals who are here to be recognized. Dana Hines from Central, TJ Ulmer from Washington, and Elizabeth Holland from Indian Trail, if you could come forward. These awards are pretty outstanding, and they recognize Kansas schools that are making a notable difference in student achievement. So congratulations to the 3 of you, and to all of our Challenge Award winning schools.
Anybody from the other 3 schools have staff representatives? You can come up and receive for your bill.
Thank you. Good idea.
Westview. Making Westview here? I'll take Westview.
Congratulations. Finally, tonight we are going to honor our spring state champion athletes. We're going to start with Olathe East High School. If Assistant Principal and Athletic Director Caleb Stoppel could come forward, along with Assistant Coaches Mike Wallace and Tony Bozar. Come forward. Along with Jacob Vermillion. Jacob was named the Kansas State Track and Field Boys 800 meter run champion. Congratulations to you, Jacob. And it's important to note, Olathe East also had a diver, Emily Batchelor, who placed first in the 6A State Diving Championship, but she couldn't be here tonight, but we want to make sure she is recognized as well. So congratulations to all of our Olathe East athletes. And Jacob, I know your family's here as well. We'd love for them to stand to be recognized. Congratulations. And next, for Olathe North High School, I'd like to ask Assistant Principal and Athletic Director Josh Price to come forward, along with Coach Levi Huseman and Cade Higas. Cade was named the 6A Kansas State Track and Field Boys 1,600 meter run championship. Congratulations, Cade. No, come on. And Kate, is your family here tonight? We'd love for them to stand and be recognized. I assume that's our paparazzi. And from Olathe Northwest High School, I'd like to ask Principal Chris Zook and Athletic Director Joe Gunderson to come forward, along with your athletes and Coach Chris Sales. We had a lot from Northwest. It was a great year. The Kansas 6A State Boys Track and Field 4x800 meter relay team of Braden Beard, Brett Beard, Andrew Tracy, and Cole Morris. Wave, guys. And the 6A Kansas girls 300 meter hurdles and Jaleesa, wave, this is all about you. 300 meter hurdles and girls long jump champion, Jaleesa McWashington. And finally, we had the 6A Kansas State girls track and field high jump champion, Madeline Ryder. Congratulations to you all. Parents, come up and get good pictures. And since you're up, all our parents of our Northwest athletes, wave. Congratulations to you all, and congratulations. And that concludes our recognitions tonight. Thank you.
So we'll move on to public comments. At each regular meeting, the Board of Education reserves limited time for individuals wishing to address the board. We request that individual speakers limit their comments to 5 minutes. The clerk will monitor the time and notify the speaker when the 5-minute time limit has expired. Please direct your comments to the entire board. If a response is appropriate, the president will respond or refer to another individual. In an effort to respect privacy, we ask that speakers refrain from discussing personal complaints involving individual staff members or students. Those speaking are advised that public comments are videotape recorded for broadcast on the district's educational access channel and audio tape recorded as a matter of public record. Individuals addressing the board should come to the podium at the front of the room and state their name and address. So we didn't have anyone sign up, but is there anyone? No? Okay. Moving along to 4.01, boundary adjustments for Regency Park or Place Elementary.
It's like magic. It just shows up. That's awesome. Well, good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to visit with the board tonight about a recommendation on a boundary adjustment for Regency Place. The exciting thing about this is it's a boundary discussion that really is, I think, pretty easy and should be pretty supported by all. The area that we're looking at currently is what we call Map Grid 455, and imagine you're in a drone over California Trail right here and Regency Place Elementary here. The area just to the west of Regency Place originally was in the Regency Place attendance area. Back in 2006, the board moved that to the Tomahawk attendance area as Regency Place was getting extremely full at the time and growing, and there was just the unknown of when that land would be developed. It has sat vacant since. There has started to be some development approved, but not started yet. And so we're looking at Grid 455 plus a little bit of Grid 470 from Indian Creek, which, as I'll discuss in a minute, will allow us to use some major roadways as boundaries for those schools. Here's kind of a larger view of it. And again, just for point of reference, Regency Place is right here. This is the area we're talking about. Santa Fe, 135th Street here, Black Bob Road goes up and down right here. So again, this area here, along with the Crestview Village area, which actually sits in the Indian Creek attendance area, would all then feed Regency Place. The rationale for this and why now, there's currently only 2 houses in that entire area that we're talking about for the boundary change. Currently, we have no students that live in that attendance area. As I stated earlier, this area was part of the Regency Place attendance area until 2006 when it was moved because of the rising enrollment at Regency Place. The development that's beginning to occur, streets are in for the first phase of eventually 117 homes in Crestview Village. The Village Cooperative Concept Plan approved for 10 single-family homes as well. Regency Place enrollment, you'll see back in 2006, the board made a great decision to get in front of that and move that land as enrollment peaked at over 700 at Regency Place, but now we are in the extremely low 400s and really for the next 5 years stay in that 400 to 375 range at Regency Place. So they certainly have room should any students move into that area. So the next slide shows the new Regency Place boundary, which you'll see uses Black Bob and 135th as hard boundary line for it. And the benefits certainly prevents future Regency Place students from having to cross Santa Fe and or Black Bob Road, and the car estimates there are overwhelming when we got that data. I knew they were busy, I didn't know they were that busy. Also allows students that previously would not have been able to walk to Tomahawk from that area would now be able to walk to Regency Place. We'll be able to better utilize available space at Regency Place. Currently, they're just at a 77% room utilization, 64% functional capacity. And it'll also provide any potential crowding at Indian Creek and Tomahawk, which both are pretty high on their room utilization and in about the same spot on their functional capacity. In terms of future students from that area, our best estimates, and working with Chris Grollup, 7 to 10 students per grade level. So you're talking 50 kids maximum over time that may be added to Regency Place by adding that area before development even begins. So that's the recommendation that we'll ask the board to take action on next month. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Do you have any idea how quickly they're going to start populating that area? Because I know they're building the roads, which is a part of that. Is actually a nice expansion for east, the one road that's coming in there. But
Correct.
How quickly are they going to start filling those up? Do you know, building that out?
That I don't know. I know obviously once the roads and sewers are in, the homes and townhomes go up pretty quickly after that. So I would assume in the near future. So we did want to get in front of it before residents took place there.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to action consent. Does anyone have any questions about 5.01 through 5.19? If not, can I get a motion?
I move to accept action consent items 5.01 to 5.19 as presented.
Second.
Take the.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Mr. Beveridge?
Yes.
Mr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Geary?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to action bids, contracts, agreements. Does anyone want to pull anything out of here before we maybe lump these together? Any questions?
Yes, I would like to pull 6.14 general insurance policies and renewals.
Okay, I think we have somebody here to chat about that.
Good evening, Merle Hastert in the Business Department. I have with us this evening James Charlesworth with Charlesworth & Associates. They're the district's insurance advisor. Also have Mr. Ed Reasoner with Thomas McGee & Associates, and he's part of our TPA program that we have for the district. Just kind of a catch up on what we do as we approach our renewal time period. We started back in February with meetings to talk about the district. We provide to them a snapshot of what our district will look like in the next year. We look at our facilities, our construction, our student enrollment, our teaching staff, our locations of all of our staff people. We look at our equipment in the district, our vehicles. So it's just a total snapshot of our district in this next year. And then we submit that information as a package to Mr. Reesner, who then goes out in the market and begins trying to find folks that will help us with our premiums. So we'll let him talk a little bit about that part.
Good evening. Again, I'm Ed Reesner with Thomas McGee. As Merle pointed out, we started in February, and I'll even go back a little further with the district. Over 15 years ago, with the growth that the district has seen, over time, the district moved away from trading dollars with the insurance companies to much more of a high deductible or self-insured retention programs so that the district can manage the lower dollar claims that we know are going to happen for a district the size of Olathe schools. And we've kind of reached the optimum point of the self-insured retentions with a $100,000 deductible for the property and $250,000 for the liability. We see a diminishing returns. We've received quotes to go higher deductibles, but we're kind of at that sweet spot, if you will, on those risk amounts to assume by the district. As Merle pointed out, we started in February. We had preliminary discussions with the two insurance companies, primary insurance companies, Travelers Insurance on the property, and Genesis, which is part of the Berkshire Hathaway group, on the liability. Things began diminishing, quite honestly, with the property. The property is the bulk of where the district dollar premiums do go. You pick up the paper, you see the catastrophic storms that are taking place. And not necessarily in the district, but it is in Kansas, it's in Oklahoma, it's in Texas. And the storm losses have hurt the insurance marketplace. Over time, we've seen consolidations with the insurance companies. So the insurance companies that are able to take on, and I will share, the district's values, the property values are now in excess of $1 billion for the district. The first time that that's occurred with the addition of Olathe West, with the new middle schools. So you need to have insurance companies that are financially solid that can take that on. We began those discussions in February. Some of the indications were such that the rates were going to be going up. So we did approach 7 other insurance companies that we've listed within the documents just to make sure that the rates and Travelers was the right place. And without fail, the other insurance companies, for the most part, could not either come close to the rate or were not able to offer the same terms and conditions. So what you see before you is, unfortunately, an increase on the premiums. Much more than what we had thought, but that's the best program. We do have some options to lower the premium by taking on more risk on the wind and hail, by reducing the premium by about $35,000. The risk reward of that is debatable. Again, the payback of that. I think when we met with the insurance committee a week ago Tuesday, a tornado hit Linwood. So it is reality, and the potential is there for a severe loss. So I'd be glad to answer questions that you have in front of you.
Any questions?
James?
So Ed, I'm assuming you're seeing these increases across the country then.
Absolutely.
And again, this is probably one of the highest increases we've had in several years, right?
It is, and Rick, I will share with you, if you recall, in 2011, after the Joplin storm, we started seeing some increases. And in 2015, we actually had a higher rate per $100 of payroll, or of property values than we do now. It was closer to 7 cents. This renewal is at 6.5. So it was higher at that point. The premium was lower because at that point, the district only had $750 million in property values. Obviously, the growth in the last few years and the cost to rebuild is also a factor.
James Charlesworth Consulting. I support what Ed has presented tonight. As a consultant that represents numerous districts and cities, this increase comes of no surprise. The market continues to deteriorate. It's actually in the last 60 days, it's deteriorated even more. But I have seen for non-public entities increases in property rates of 30, 50, 70%. So it's very difficult to find insurance right now for property. This is, frankly, this is a really good renewal. And that's just not to pat Thomas McGee on the back. They've done a nice job, but we are seeing a lot of pressure in this space. And I wish we could have negotiated it down, but I'm not going to speak for Ed, but I'm guessing the first numbers he got were not these numbers. And it took some negotiation. This is pretty solid.
So not being a part of that committee, and you talked a little bit about, okay, can we raise our deductible a little bit? Can you just kind of talk through that and kind of share with us what some of the stuff you shared with the committee to say this is where we're going to land at?
Well, the key point is the deductible on the property side of things. The trade-off is if we can reduce the premium by it's actually $33,000 to take on $150,000 worth of losses strictly for wind and hail. Okay, so that's a little close to a 3-year payback in time. Well, knock on wood, the district has not seen a storm loss. We've not seen a storm loss that has exceeded the deductible in the 15 years we've had with travelers. That's not to say it couldn't happen tomorrow. So it's that risk reward.
Okay.
I was also going to note, I was in the insurance committee meeting. It was kind of interesting when you were talking about, maybe you want to expand on it a little bit, the challenges of property insurance for a school district like us, because we have so many assets in a small area, and that limits the number of insurance companies.
It does, and the significant part is, we have to make certain that the insurance company has the financial strength to take on the $1 billion. There are other programs that are out there that we could do a layer program, but by the time we get multiple insurance companies involved, it's not anywhere close to that 6.5 cent rate per $100 of payroll. So there are other structures that could be done, but the other aspect is there's a consolidation within the insurance world. But the insurance companies actually use something called reinsurance. Kansas City has employers reinsurance, and and Berkshire Hathaway has reinsurance, where they basically insure the insurance companies. And that is where they're offering limits, but the rates that they're demanding now have changed. So it's still an economic aspect of the supply and the demand, and the rates, unfortunately, have gone up.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to ask questions about? 6.01 through 620?
6.18, just the, talking about the MAP program. We just have, again, with this is the 3rd year that we're using this and looking at this going forward. I mean, is this still a long-term plan? Thank you. Dr. Yeager?
So I'll stumble my way through, and then if Rich wants to add anything, he's welcome to do that. You know, the MAP right now is giving us some great data about our students. You know, the main assessments that we're looking at right now in our system are the MAP assessment 3 times a year. And then for most kids, the Kansas assessment as well. And right now, the MAP is the closest thing we have to giving us formative assessment that we can get real-time data for our kids at least 3 times a year and take action in terms of supporting them, enriching them, those kinds of things. I will tell you over the next number of months, probably the next couple of years, one of the things that we're going to need to do in learning services with the stakeholders within our system is look at our assessment footprint and make sure that what we're doing is still getting us what we need in terms of driving instruction for our kids each day. So one of the other things that you see on the agenda tonight is continued agreement with Mastery Connect, which I know we've talked about a little bit, but that's our formative assessment and curriculum software that we just trained all our administrators on last week. And over time, we're going to have to monitor that implementation and how that's going, and really identify over the next couple of years what are the pieces that are most critical for our teachers to support our students. And so right now, it's something that our system still counts on for sure. It could change over time, though, based on the feedback that we get from our stakeholders as we kind of walk through the next couple of years.
And the reason I'm asking is because with the portrait of the graduate and going forward,
Right.
is this a tool that'll be able to help us to watch and measure, are we really moving the needle with what we're trying to do with that? That's why I was asking that long term.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, especially in our areas that are related to academic performance. One of the nice things about MAP is, you know, for a long time in the state of Kansas, we've had Kansas assessment information, and we can see how we're doing compared to the kids within Kansas, right, pretty easily based on that. The MAP gives us the ability to compare ourselves a little bit nationally in terms of watching where we're doing and where our kids are. And the great thing about MAP that's not so easy to see from some of our other assessments that we give and many of the other assessment products out there is it measures students' growth over time. And so we're able to, as schools and parents are able to, as they get information about their kiddos, to look and see how has my kid grown over the last number of years, or how has my third grade grown from the beginning of third grade to the end of third grade, or first grade to fifth grade, those kinds of things. And so I think that's one of the things that we'll have to consider as we move forward with just kind of looking at our assessment footprint. What are the things that we're doing that help us do know that we're meeting some of the benchmarks with the portrait of graduate and where we want that class of 2032 to be when they walk across the stage? So, great question.
Thank you.
Anything you'd add, Mr. Wilson?
No, thank you.
I do
did
think
okay.
as we
Great job,
think
Alex.
about, as we think about the portrait of a graduate, our needs are going to change as we progress along that continuum. So as Dr. Yeager said, for the next year or so, but we'll continue to look at options and make those decisions on the needs as we move forward.
So Dr. Yeager, I'm not sure if this would be for you or somebody else, but I was just hoping to get maybe a little update. You mentioned it about the Mastery Connect.
Yeah.
If you're the right person, or
I could be the right person, but Rich is the better person, so
Okay.
we'll have him share information about that.
Okay. What can I share?
so just, it sounds like we implemented it, or we're working on implementing it, just kind of what the process is. and-
Sure. So over the last year, we've had some early adopters that have used it within 5 elementaries, 2 middles, and 2 high school, 3 middles and 2 high schools. And that's just been a few teachers in each building that I was able to support, and our instructional resource teachers could support. And then as that has grown, and we have looked at this one piece in assessment that we don't have a real good handle on yet, which is the formative assessment piece, that how do I know how kids are doing on a more daily or regular basis? This is a tool that really helps us focus on curricular standards, and you know, like with MAP and Kansas assessment, it's math and ELA. This allows us to get a better gauge on all of our curricular areas. And so we can focus on standards, and we can focus on students' progress through those standards. And so at this time, we are looking forward to a full adoption next year. We just trained about 170 district leaders, so administrators, teacher leaders, district level folks. We had 2 days of training by Mastery Connect, and it was phenomenal. Some really good feedback from everybody there. And then we have another day with pretty much that same group on August 1st, where they will, the building leaders will go through training on how to train their staff. And then the staff, the entire district, has training on August 8th for secondary and August 9th for elementary with Mastery Connect. And then each of those groups has a half day of training within their buildings with their administrators. And then we have, the superintendent's leadership team has created kind of a schedule of assignments, if you will. So first quarter, teachers have some work to do to make sure that they're in the system and all systems are go. And then quarters 2, 3, and 4,
more additional assignments as we get everybody on board and into this system. Again, focusing on the right work with students so that we can impact them now and not have to wait with the Kansas assessment where it's at the end of the year and it's almost too late. So we're very excited.
Do you see this replacing MAP at some point? Or just we use them differently, or is that just a...
Mr. Gray, that's the first time we've been asked that question.
Yeah, I know.
No, we actually, to be fair, we don't know. They do different things. The Mastery Connect does have an assessment component to it, but it's more of kind of this regular time frame. I'm assessing all the time,
Right.
not the way we would feel about assessment where I stop class and we don't teach. These are like 5-minute things, 10-minute things that happen on a regular basis to monitor progress for all kids. The MAP assessment is what we would consider more of an interim assessment. So it's given after time. In our case, we would give it at the beginning of the year to kind of benchmark where everybody is, and then do it again in the winter, and then again in the spring. So that really measures just that growth over that time, whereas Mastery Connect's going to give us that growth over much smaller periods of time. So they do different things. If we find, though, that we are moving MAP scores and Kansas assessment scores are moving, the conversation will come up later, but right now because they do such different things, there's really a place for both of them.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
The other thing that I might mention, and you all are familiar with the big three that we've talked about a lot this year, Mastery Connect really supports all the things related to the big three, but one of the first things in the big three is standards-based instruction, and Mastery Connect really is a tool to support standards-based instruction, and then also our professional learning communities, our groups of teachers that are meeting together to meet kids' needs. And as Rich said, it'll be very frequent data, so rather than waiting for 3 or 4 points a year, I can see my data this afternoon and it can impact my instruction tomorrow with my kids, and so that's one of the things we're really excited about with it.
Any other questions? Anything else that anyone would like to discuss? And if not, maybe get a motion and lump those items together.
Sure. I would move to approve action item 6.01 through 6.0.
Second.
Joy?
Mr. Beveridge?
Yes.
Mr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to action items other. Just a quick note, we have an addition or an amendment to that 7.05 that I'll talk about in a second here. But first, if there's not any questions, could I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve action other items 7.01 through 7.04.
Second.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Mr. Beveridge?
Yes.
Mr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Okay, and then 7.05, the board last month received the letter of resignation from Ms. Martin from the board, and so one of the things we have to do is accept that resignation as a board. So can I get a motion to accept?
So I move the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas a vacancy exists in the membership of the Board of Unified School Districts, number 233, Johnson County, Kansas, and whereas KSA 25.2022 authorizes the Board of Education to fill such vacancies no sooner than 15 days following publication of notice in a newspaper having general circulation in the school district. Be it resolved that the clerk of the Board of Education of Unified School District number 233, Johnson County, Kansas, shall cause such notice to be published in the Kansas City Star newspaper.
Second.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Mr. Beveridge?
Yes.
Mr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Gary?
Yes.
And just a quick note, we all have to sign a form, so don't leave until we
Right.
sign like that. Okay. Okay, moving on to Section 8, future action items. Does anyone have any questions about those? Okay, and then we have our information written, site council survey results, and June Head Start Director report. And then topics for discussion. Does anyone have anything to discuss? I was just going to mention officer elections next month. I think Shannon is maybe considering running for a second term, which he would have my full support, but just be thinking about that for next month's meeting. We'll be electing our officers.
I think we'll need to, when do we fill our ex officio at the same time? Because Amy is currently serving on the Olathe Public Schools Foundation as ex officio. Will we need to do all that at the same time?
Well, you'll have to go through the process first, so that piece probably won't happen until after July.
Okay.
I would also like just to shout out to the district for the graduations the past month. I thought the organization of staff in our district and accommodating thousands of graduates across the stage was remarkable, and you did a great job. Thank you. I think it's a good memory for all of our families.
Yeah. You got the weather right half the time. So we're doing all right. That's not bad.
3 out of 5.
There you go.
It's better than the previous year, so we'll just keep working.
Okay.
Speaking of graduation, I'm going to ask Dr. McMullen to come to the podium real quick to talk a little bit about graduation. I'm sorry I jumped to superintendent comments there without the
Nope, it was your turn.
direction. As Dr. McMullen's getting set up, I do want to say that we are all very appreciative of the service that Ms. Martin provided for this community and the school district. We will have an opportunity to celebrate that service at a later date, and that the reason for her resignation is that she has moved out of the district, which requires her to resign that position. But we're working with her to find a time and a way in which we can honor her service, and we'll do so here as soon as we possibly can.
So on the note on graduation, I appreciate the kind words, and it is a team effort, and it's a monster of a preparation for all. But special thanks, before I do forget, to Tim Brady, our District Athletic and Activities Director, who really oversees a lot of the organization while the ceremonies are going on and prior to as well. Rick Castillo, our Manager of Safety and Security, who handles all of the preparations with both Olathe Police Department and Olathe Fire, in getting the support we need for having thousands and thousands of people at those ceremonies. So special thanks to them and everyone else who pitches in. But we talked about 3 out of 5 outside. Tim Brady told me that 3 out of 5 get you in the Hall of Fame. And I said that's true, but 0 out of 5 get you cut. So I was glad we got 3 of them outside. But pretty exciting. Olathe West held their first ever graduation. And they were outside on Friday. North and South were inside on Saturday, and then the weather changed nice, and we were able to get East and Northwest outside on Sunday. And I know board members were in attendance at all of the ceremonies. And obviously, just the best part of those ceremonies, as you know, is the joy of those families. And I know we had multiple people, including Mr. Scheer, that had graduates, and it's an exciting time for all of us. Just some numbers, our total number of graduates by school. Northwest was our largest at 510. West, with the smallest senior class in the district, graduated 212. I also want to mention that Step Up, one of our ed programs, graduated 32 individuals, and those are folks whose senior class has already graduated, so they're folks that have come back to get their high school education with us. As opposed to going the GED route, they're taking courses with us, and so there's 32 members of our community now that have high school diplomas that didn't. The OCL and SOAR numbers are also embedded in the Gen Ed numbers in the high school. For the first time this year, we live streamed every ceremony at its time, which free of charge for all families to view across the country. The coolest part about that was that it was done 100% by our e-com group at Northwest, e-communications, and both the staff and the students did the entire thing. First-class job. If you had the opportunity to view any of those ceremonies, just a professional production, which was great. Pretty neat data. We had over 5,000 logins, so that's not viewers, that's folks that logged in to view, and then you have multiple people watching at that point in time. States from Missouri to Colorado to California to Florida. Viewers log in as far away as Germany and India as well. And so pretty exciting and something we're certainly very proud of there. And I do just want to thank the board again for the vision and support 3 years ago now to move graduations outside. For those that are able to get outside, certainly the unlimited seating that provides for families is great. This year, for the first time, we moved all the ceremonies that were going inside into Northwest, which allowed more tickets per family. And the Eagles and Falcons survived having the Raven on the wall and still had a great ceremony and were able to have more family members present. So we were pretty excited about that.
Thank you, Dr. McMullen. And appreciate all of our board members that attended graduation, and most of you more than one. Some, I think, as many as 4 different graduations. I think that was Mr. McCune. He won the award for this year.
Yeah, it was good. That's the fun part of being a board.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. I'd be remiss to not publicly thank the Service Center in that group with the extra steps that they took, getting the facilities ready. The grounds at CBAC were immaculate. Having to move things inside on Saturday takes a lot of work, all the prep, et cetera. So thanks to Travis Palangi, Brandon Greason, and the entire crew over there. So.
They had an incredible task and did it exceptionally well. And because of their hard work and efficiency, it gave us a smaller window in which we had to make decisions. So without their hard work, Dr. McMullen is correct, we could not have been able to be as successful at graduation as we were this year. And that concludes my comments for this evening.
Okay, moving right along as we try to get done before the Blues game for Mr. Hutchinson. We have 3 executive sessions, unfortunately. So can I get a motion for the first one?
Most time you need.
Oh, yeah. Rick, this is for the
first one?
Yeah.
I'd say 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Okay, adjourn to executive session. I move that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing individual employee performances pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA, and that the board return to the regular meeting at 7:05 p.m. in this room.
Second.
Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Mr. Beveridge?
Yes.
Mr. McCune?
Yes.
All right, so I move to approve the superintendent's contract as written.
Second.
Just gonna-
I guess it's approve the renewal of the superintendent's contract.
Approve the renewal?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Mr. Beveridge?
Yes.
Mr. McCune?
Yes.
Good, we got
Okay, so now we need a second executive session for, I think, an update on.
All right. I move that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing salary, benefits, and related items of the bargaining unit pursuant to the exceptions for employer-employee negotiations under COMA, and that the board return to the regular meeting at, how long do we need, John?
15 minutes.
15 minutes? At 7:25 in this room.
Second.
Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Mr. Beveridge?
Yes.
Mr. McCune?
Yes.
Boy, it's fast when there's only 4 of you.